Arith, I was a bit apprehensive about doing this one because I haven't finished the other Batman story that I am looking at, but I think this one is okay. It's not much of a Batman story. It's a story with Batman features, but it's not really a Batman story. I don't feel like I'm interrupting the other one. This is The Bold and the Beautiful, issue 195, nearing the end of the series. And we have a team-up between Batman and Apple's Eye Dracula. Night of Blood. This is written by Mike Barr with artwork by Jim Apparatus. They are the creative team that will see the title out with issue 200, and then its inferior rebrand and relaunch as Batman and the Insiders. They, Mike Barr and Jim Apparatus, did many of the last issues of this series, and I don't rate Mike Barr much, but this one is a solid issue and a decent team-up. We even open with what I thought was a good little sequence. There are Draculas in Gotham City, and there is a crease on this page, yes. There have been a swath of Dracula-style killings in Gotham City. That is why Apple's Eye Dracula has come to Gotham. And here we see one of those in progress. We have a young couple walking through a park, being romantic and shit. But they are being followed. They are being stalked, it would seem, by an hard man. It is a basic one, but the twist is that the couple are the Draculas, and they were preying on the hard man that we thought was the Dracula. And then Apple's Eye Dracula involves himself and saves the victim and dispatches of the two Draculas. With this introductory scene over, I think I best explain to you who Apple's Eye Dracula is. Apple's Eye Dracula was the star of some of the anthology title House of Secrets. He first appeared in issue 290. I have his entire run. He was created by Jim Tomatoes and Screaming Lord Such. And he's like a friendly Dracula. He won't suck you off in a dark alleyway. He is a friendly Dracula. He refrains from drinking human blood, or at least feasting on humans the way other Draculas do. He is your typical self-loathing, internally reflective Dracula character. But in comics, he was quite early on for that type of character. Before him there was Tomb of a Dracula, but that was really, the Dracula was more the enemy of that series, really. And then there was Jared Leto, but he is not a traditional Dracula. Apple's Eye Dracula, his story, his major focus, his narrative, is that when he was first transformed by Apple into a Dracula, back in the really hard days, his missus begged him to transform her into one as well, so that they could be together forever. But when he did, she waited a few seconds before going mad with power and becoming completely evil with her newfound Dracula powers. So now, Apple's Eye Dracula roams the world wanting to right his wrong. He intends to slay his former lover and every other Dracula on Earth along the way, until there is none left. It's a great little hook. And now we cut to Batman. And I like Batman's plot and how he is incorporated as well. A mobster's daughter has been bitten by a Dracula. And so, at wit's end, he calls in Batman for help. And Batman, he and the mobster come to a really solid agreement wherein Batman will do everything to find the assailant and try to cure the girl, and the mobster will retire and squeal on a bigger gangster. Unfortunately, the nurse is on the take, and she grasses on the guy to the gangster who he is planning to give up. Batman, he solves the mystery immediately, but he doesn't tell us or Gary Oldman the answer until about 10 pages later. Apple's I, Dracula, and later Batman, they are both heading out to a Dracula LARPing club, a gathering where people pretend to be Draculas. But it turns out that it is also the perfect hiding place for actual Draculas and for them to find easy meals. Some good stuff here with Apple's I, Dracula not appreciating this romanticising and worship of Draculas. I'm not done explaining his history though. Sadly, Jim Tomatoes didn't write all of his stories. After about half a year, the feature was handed to Les Battersby, who is a bad writer. He is someone who writes badly. His stories with Apple's I, Dracula are close to atrocious. They make no sense and completely overlook any appeal or strength of the character. They instead have him fucking do utter nonsense like travel back in time to ancient Egypt, or travel back in time and fight Jack the Ripper. At no point did this character ever need to travel time. He had a strong setup. He didn't need to time travel. His stories shouldn't involve time travel. And with how long he has been alive, he became a Dracula in 1591, he could have done the Jack the Ripper story without time travel. He was alive and a Dracula in the 1800s. The last year or so of Apple's I, Dracula was a marked improvement, with the scribes of Smurf Devil, Elman the Stories, The Michelin Man and Roy Cohn. They did do better, and there was even an issue set at Woodstock. No time travel involved. It is a flashback because the character was alive then. But it has always been a shame to me that Jim Tomatoes didn't get to write Apple's I, Dracula for all of it. It is a character that screams Jim Tomatoes, and it's easy to see how much Jim Tomatoes could have done with the character. Approaching the end of his run on House of Secrets came this issue of The Bold and the Beautiful, and it is a good use of the character, and it is mostly in keeping with his stories in House of Secrets. The only iffy thing is that there is no mention of his supporting cast in this. They are absent, but I think we needed a line somewhere with Apple's I, Dracula saying that he left them behind because he didn't want to bring them into this. Batman, he shows up. He momentarily utilises one of his Mission Impossible style masks and disguises, but he is also being hunted by mob enforcers who want to stop him from succeeding. Fight breaks out between Apple's I, Dracula and Dracula's and also Batman and the Criminals. These are framed as parallel, and there are a lot of parallels to draw between Batman and Apple's Eye Dracula. And this story acknowledges just about all of them, but doesn't really commit to any single one to explore further or use as a theme. Batman and Apple's Eye Dracula quickly team up. Apple's Eye Dracula explains his origins. He explains his terms and conditions. And let's get back to his history, or what might be the last part of it. He wasn't in Christmas on Infinite Earths. You heard me right, unless you heard me wrong, in which case you didn't hear me right. Apple's Eye Dracula did not appear once in Christmas on Infinite Earths. He did receive a Who Is Who entry, issue 11 of the original series. Now, I don't traditionally look up characters before regaling you with their history, but I did look up to verify my belief that he wasn't in Christmas on Infinite Earths. And in doing so, that clued me in to a lot of appearances I would not have mentioned. I was under the impression that he didn't really reappear again until the New 52, but that isn't true. In the Dr. Fates ongoing by Jim Tomatas, the 1988 series, with artwork by Shane McGowan, that's the one that features the stepmother grooming her stepson, Apple's Eye Dracula apparently appears in that series as a supporting character. I have read it. I read it years and years ago, and I have no recollection of him being in it. I read it before I knew who Apple's Eye Dracula was, more than likely. All I really remember is the Shane McGowan art. I remember Darkseid was in one story. I remember the one where the Grinch saw God and went blind. And I remember Petey, the demon, who was disguised as a dog. Rain in Hell. Apple's Eye Dracula he makes a very, very brief appearance in Rain in Hell, the miniseries from the late 2000s that I seem to mention a lot. He is seen on a montage at the end of the first issue. That's his only appearance in that, but he does apparently make background appearances all over in the late 2000s in various mystical themed books like Dear Vegans or The Shady Pack. All of them background appearances because I don't remember him in any of them. Actually, we'll end that there. We'll cover the New 52 as a final section for itself. My favourite bit in the issue is here, where Apple's Eye Dracula says that when his mission is complete, when he has killed all the other Draculas, he wishes Batman to finish the job and to slay him and truly rid the world of every Dracula. It's just passing dialogue, but I wish that this had really been focused on and given a proper amount of attention. I think it should be like when Superman gives Batman the kryptonite. It should be this big moment showing trust and faith and whatnot. What I'm saying is that this moment could be a lot more than it is. The two, they work together to solve each other's connected problem of Draculas in Gotham. And this leads the pair to a penthouse where Apple's Eye Dracula's lover, Mary, she has insinuated herself with the Gotham Mafia. and made the mob boss of Dracula 2. Mary gets away because Apple's Eye Dracula is too concerned with Batman's well-being, and Apple's Eye Dracula takes a gutful of silver bullets to shield Batman. It's okay though, thanks to the power of a blood transfusion from Batman. And it is a happy ending, and the daughter wasn't bit by a Dracula, but by one of the Dracula roleplay people who had a virus that he spread to her. The two heroes part as friends. Really love the ending. New 52. Apple's Eye Dracula temporarily got a new lease on life with the New 52 reboot. He was represented as a younger, more emo version of the character, but he did keep most the setup and ideas. Unfortunately, the interior art was fucking rubbish. It was one of those wanks that just trace action figures, and recently was exposed for going even lazier and handing in AI-generated art. That book was a surprise hit though. It sold better than DC were expecting. For a few months, Apple's Eye Dracula was on the map. He also appeared in Dark Justice League, and then his series was canned at issue 19, and he went away again. Until that DC versus Dracula's thing. He was actually the main character in only the first issue. That entire story is built around his mythology, however, and in the first issue it is he who exposits most of it to us. He is trying to warn the Justice League of things. He is killed before he can, but tying it to this issue is reaching out to Batman, independent of his attempts to contact the League. It's what has Batman prepared and ready to face Dracula's. I quite like that first issue. I should get it and review it. I like its use of Apple's Eye Dracula. There is one other series I found out about that I was unaware of. Gotham City Monsters. He is apparently on that. It is a team and a series I had never heard of before. He's there though, and I took a quick look for this, and he is introduced with one of the fucking most air-pulling, unfunny, tee-hee, non-word plays ever. And I can say with a hand on my heart, I am never ever reading that. I think this is a great team-up. Batman and Apple's Eye Dracula, they make for a good team-up. This is a lot more focused on Apple's Eye Dracula, but I think Batman is implemented into his story well. I'd even consider this might be in the top 10 issues of The Bold and the Beautiful, which is more saying something about The Bold and the Beautiful's typical quality than it is about the quality of this issue. It's great though. Fun, done in one Batman team up. That's what you want. It is getting a 7 thumbs up from your pal, Capwolfson. I could do a long video about how much I deplore him randomly saying the word vampire in the middle of a sentence for no reason at all beyond for a reader to giggle at the worst, most baseless, lamest, fucking cringe, piece of shit, unfunny joke ever.